office. It's a privilege to share a mic with such strong revolutionary leaders, speakers, but leaders. It's also a challenge because we don't want to come up after them and give the wrong message. I really love what Brenda said about Harriet Tubman and Rosa Parks. You give the individual credit, their courage, but that they were connected to a movement, a mass movement. And when we think about their centennial anniversary of one's passing, anniversary of one's birth, we don't just think about these wonderful freedom fighters, sister freedom fighters, but we think about the struggle that they represented of millions of people. The same thing is true about the 50th anniversary of the 1963 March for Jobs and Freedom that Seeley talked about. With all the anniversaries that we think about during Black History Month in 2013, it seems that the re-election of Barack Obama may appear to some people more relevant. Indeed, it is an unusual phenomenon. Not only an African American elected to be president, but re-elected. And what does that all mean? Well, it's a mixed bag because I think you all agree with me that nothing has changed fundamentally. But the election and the re-election of Obama does reflect that there is a change that the masses have undergone. The masses have changed. It's revealed them. They're tired of racism and reaction and war and homophobia and stepping on women's rights. They want another planet. They want something done about climate change. They want to deal with justice and equality and social needs. They don't want to be the enemies of people who speak different languages and live across bodies of water. Maybe they're not able to articulate it, and the candidate that they voted for certainly doesn't represent it. But I would still argue that the re-election of Obama is a sign that people want to break from the past. I would add that the re-election has also nudged Obama to a left posture. Emphasize nudge, which is like, and emphasize posture as opposed to, any meaning. The fact that people have moved and are moving to the left, however you would characterize it, has given Obama the room to posture, maybe even force them for a little while to posture to the left. Nothing real. Posture. And this, comrades and friends, is a political and even an ideological problem for the working class movement, for the African American movement, for oppressed people fighting in this country. Not so much at the grassroots. People are still doing their worker organizing. They're still fighting to stop hospital closings. They're still doing the foot soldier work that the other two speakers described so eloquently. Maybe at the middle and higher levels of leadership in the labor movement. That's where you see this problem, this political and ideological problem that Obama has come to represent. It's a temporary problem. What am I talking about? it seems to usher in a revival of the Democratic Party, which is a box with no exit for the working class and the oppressed masses that they should discard. It seems to revive the whole idea of bourgeois liberalism, FDR, the New Deal. The thought of it, not the reality of it. Where's the jobs program? There's no jobs program. Every day, more and more people lose a job and lose even the possibility of a job in their lifetime. Where are the social programs? They're not coming, they're going. Everything's being taken away. But still you have this image that through Obama, there's a revival of bourgeois liberalism. It died a long time ago. And it's only an illusion that it's got some life in it. Most importantly, it can give some people, if not consciously, but on another semi-conscious level, maybe the idea that capitalism has got some hope, that there's some hope for reform. In other words, restore faith in capitalism at a very interesting time on the global scene when conditions are getting worse everywhere and when the magnitude of this unprecedented global crisis of capitalism and imperialism has never, it's never been more of an opportunity for a revolutionary growth of consciousness deep down amongst the masses, an anti-capitalist, pro-socialist, pro-revolutionary political consciousness. It's never been, the times have never been riper for that. But instead, for a little while, for some, because of the re-election of Obama, what you get is a nice face on capitalism and imperialism. A nice face on the expanding drone war against Africa. They just opened up another base in Niger. Against the Middle East, against Asia. A nice face on the deportation of almost 500,000 immigrants, more than under Bush. A nice face on the train taking young people to jail, mass incarceration. A nice face on austerity, on union busting, on cops brutalizing and killing people. There was a demonstration today, stop the cops. Pretty good from what I heard, especially since it was raining. This is a problem. This is a problem. Obama did something very clever after the election. Instead of talking about austerity or emphasizing austerity for it, he said, I'm going to emphasize let's tax the rich. Tax the rich. Not much. A little bit. But I'm going to yell about it. But at the same time, of course, we have to have the cuts. Social Security and Medicaid, those programs are not sustainable. And, the baby boom generation gets older, on and on. You all heard it, we got to give up something, especially, health care, daycare, and something we got. But we're going to tax the rich a little bit. So that'll be like a sugar-coated pill with poison in it. I say it's just so interesting looking at all of the missed opportunities because of this illusion that somehow Obama can now usurp and replace the workers and the oppressed and fight on behalf of them. The politicians in Michigan, Democratic politicians, they told the union members when they put in that anti-union law a few months ago, don't worry. When we get the governorship back, when we get the governorship back, we'll do something to help out. The 5 mayoral candidates, Democratic Party mayoral candidates in New York City, who sent a letter to the workers, go back to work, stop your strike. When we get elected, we'll do something about job security. This is what Obama has come to represent. I will fight the rich, fight the right, fight the Republicans, so you don't have to fight. As a matter of fact, you can go home. Why even have a new office? Who needs a new office? I'm going to do it for you. But we have to be reasonable. You're not going to get everything. As a matter of fact, most everything is going to be taken away from you. But if you want to be realistic, I'm going to get you the best deal that you can get. And in the meantime, our movement is paralyzed. It's a huge problem, potentially devastating. I think in terms of what's supposed to happen next Friday, March 1st, another deadline, for sweeping, brutal cuts and layoffs. I'm not even sure what's supposed to happen. Because they keep it purposely confusing, especially the ordinary people. But it could amount to a million, as much as 1 million furloughs of people who get federal paychecks. More than 100,000 layoffs, permanent layoffs. Closings of daycare centers and schools and hospitals. And yes, school bus drivers in Maytown. Cuts in aids to the states, which will push some states into bankruptcy. We know what that means, layoffs and cuts. Whether this is all going to happen on March 1st or April 1st, it's all bad news. It's capitalist austerity to save their system. I think that if there wasn't this delusion that Obama was going to do it all for us, and so we need not fight, and that if the working class truly realized, that it needed more than ever to be independent and to fight the system that exploits and oppresses it, maybe March 1st would be a nationwide general strike. Not just of unions, but of all the people coming out in the streets and just stopping things like the Palestinians do, like people throughout the world do when they're angry. And instead of an ultimatum being placed on us, or the two bourgeois parties, placing ultimatums on each other, maybe the working class will make the ultimatum. Either we have our jobs and our unions and our schools and all the things we need, or we will shut down everything. One day it's going to happen. One day it's going to happen. I'm not saying this to discourage anyone. This delusion, however long it might last and whether it affects, is temporary. Our class is going to fight back. They'll find their road to the fight back. They'll clear the cobwebs. We are certain of that. As revolutionaries, though, we can't wait for that. We're obliged as revolutionaries to organize and plan and help the fight back. I know that there are a lot of progressive, militant, revolutionaries and activists who are deeply frustrated by the situation I'm trying to describe. Some of them so much that they're blaming the masses for being taken in by Obama. Why are they so taken in by Obama? And you read some of the things they write, and you can see the anger and the frustration. And I don't know whether this is having any effect. I understand it. We're with them, but it seems to me to be of no avail. That won't help. What we need is a plan. And it has to be, at the very least, a two-part plan. One is to make sure that whoever is plotting to paralyze the class struggle, that they are defeated. And that simply means planning the fight back. I'm deeply interested in what the sisters are going to do on International Working Women's Day, which is very close to the centennial of Harriet Tubman. I'm interested in May Day, which was important last year, the year before, but even more important in 2013. And the coalitions are coming together, and they're figuring out their program and their demands, and how to make it big, and how to force the unions to be a part of it, and also how to make it connected to May Day all around the world, which is all the more important because of the global nature of the crisis. I'm also deeply interested in what Brother C.D. raised about May 11th, the Poor People's March on Washington, starting from Baltimore. I don't know whether it's 30 or 40 miles, something like that. 41. Most of the people will be coming from Baltimore and the region, but they want delegations to come from all around the country so that it will be at least a representative march and not just the people from Maryland marching on Washington, on the White House, on Congress, and wherever else they march. And maybe they'll camp there for a few days. And what I'm hoping, and I believe I'm right, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, one of the final things that they'll do while they are in Washington, in the days of May 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th maybe, is convene a People's Power Assembly. I think they're thinking about getting a tent, a big tent. Maybe we'll get it on the mall, wherever we can get away with it, where we'll have delegations from all over the country coming. And the purpose will be, on top of this Poor People's March, to sit down and plan a nationwide fight back. A nationwide fight back against these attacks. The people are going to fight. The question is, what will we do? They're going to fight back because conditions are going to get worse. Whether it's March 1st or 2 months from now, believe me, hell is coming. And it's not only the austerity, it's the global capitalist crisis. It's deepening. Let me read you just briefly what was in the paper today. This is today, fresh off the press. For the first time since 2009, the economies of the major developed countries are shrinking. The Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, representing 34 countries, says that this week that the combined gross domestic product of its members declined. And it went on to say that this is unusual, almost unprecedented. And it meant that any sense that we were in a recovery, which they've been talking about since 2010, after 2009, we'll forget about that. What does this mean? More unemployment coming. For everybody, especially for young people. More misery, more suffering, no health care. Hunger, homelessness. These are the conditions that are going to force the people to rebel. How can we help? By having a plan. These activities that I've mentioned, particularly May 11th, right after May Day, can help that. But there's another obligation. Both speakers before me have spoken to me, and I'm gratified because it makes it easy for me. Sisters and brothers, comrades and friends, we have to open up a serious ideological offensive against capitalism. What the hell do we want with a system that says you can't retire? We can't afford to give you retirement benefits, Social Security, pensions, or otherwise. We can't afford to take care of you. We don't have enough. We've got to get rid of this system, but we've got to fight it ideologically. And I fear and I warn that if we don't do it, Our inaction will only serve to inflate the illusion that all of these things have been revived. The Democratic Party, bourgeois liberalism, and faith in the capitalist system. You're not going to win the hearts and minds of young people who are angry and ready to fight if you're not telling them that we need revolutionary change. It's not going to happen. We'll find ourselves taking up the rear instead of leading. And I believe that it's an obligation. We're obliged to do it. Remember how surprised some of you were when Obama was elected. Never could happen in our lifetime. Well, maybe if we hold up high the anti-capitalist, revolutionary socialist banner, maybe we'll be surprised by how many people want to come and say, "I'll challenge that." That's all I have to say. Happy Black History Month, everybody. So what Ruben is, I'm not an expert on intricacies of finance, capital, and mergers, especially at a time of unprecedented global economic capitalist crisis. But I do know this much. It's not necessarily all that unusual that, especially in a time of capitalist crisis, and I spoke to it when I read that little paragraph from the New York Times, not from the Times, the New York Times, which I was read in a second, for there to be mergers and takeovers. Because there's a lot of, those who haven't gone under have a lot of money. They're called the big fish. And the big fish swallow the small fish. And sometimes, to protect themselves, two big fish even decide to join because they can cut their labor force and cut their, and get rid of workers and become transnational. So all of this merger and acquisitions activity it's a byproduct of the crisis. It does not negate the fact that there is a crisis and that the crisis is deepening. The reason why I bothered to read that paragraph, and maybe it was a little confusing, I apologize for that, is because the paragraph says what's important, and that is that the world economy is contracting. The statistics are in. The reports are in. For about 3 years now, ever since 2010, it's got to recover, it's slow, there's no employment, it's unusual, and we don't know when it's going to pick up, but it's, really, actually, it's all the money that Federal Reserves and state bankers are pumping in to keep the market up. But that runs out after a time, too. What they're saying now is that it's official, the worldwide economy is contracting, and it's contracting almost to the degree that it was in 2009 before they proclaimed the recovery. Just on Obama and trying to wrap our heads around it, the most important thing is not to get frustrated by it. When you get frustrated by a contradictory development, you run the risk of talking to yourself and missing what you need to influence the broader masses. And I see a lot of that. And that's okay for a little while. But, the problem is you can just create your own universe. And you're out there and, whatever, and you're yelling at Obama, he's terrible, terrible. And some people don't know what they're talking about. It's a contradictory development. The truth of the matter, comrades and friends, we are in the midst of perhaps the most contradictory developments in our lifetime. What does a contradiction mean? Things happening that don't make sense. Things happening that seem to be diametrically opposed to each other. How can these two things happen? That doesn't fit. On one hand, you have a crisis-ridden system in their class waging violent war against the workers and oppressed, taking back everything that we had. And we could just go down there, And especially our young people, but not just our young people, and women and immigrants. here they want to come up with some other bill that's going to just enshrine them legally as third-class citizens, militarize borders, and do nothing about ending deportation. Nothing. But actually, that's against changing sentiment. Because what the elections and other things have shown is that the racist campaign to keep the masses in a racist mindset against the immigrants is weakening. Just like it's weakening against the homophobic bigots on gay marriage and everything else. It's weakening. This is a tremendous political development that the truth of the matter is no one, certainly we haven't, we don't, it's something, it's in the making. We haven't fully assessed. There's a political sea change going on underneath. It's not on the top. The top hasn't changed. The attack, if anything, is more vicious. But underneath, there's undergoing a sea change in the consciousness of the masses. And we're so used to the way things were, and so I think we're still stunned by it. And guess who else is stunned by it? The bourgeoisie. And they don't quite know what to do with it. Okay, an unfinished work. We're going to have to pay a lot of attention to it. You know, it's twists and turns. But right now, this is our problem. This is the immediate problem, and it's crystal clear. This government, which a lot of people think represents something new and progressive, something different, a break from the past. All of the people, whatever generation, especially young people, who are, gee, this country is so right-wing and horrible and homophobic and racist and everything, you know, and we hate everybody in the world, and we treat everybody bad, we try to shove everything down everybody's throat. They think that this is a break. They think that Obama represents a break. And there's a certain amount of capital, I suppose, that the government gets. We must make sure that this government does not succeed in its number one task. Number two task. Number one task is to carry through its capitalist imperialist program. But part of that task, and that's number two, is to undermine the development of an independent, progressive, revolutionary working class movement. That's what this government's aim is. They're not going to announce it at a press conference. But that's what they want, to sidetrack, delay, suffocate, paralyze, smash with velvet gloves the development of a revolutionary, independent, working class movement, which everyone in a way is crying out for around the world. And our job is to see that that doesn't happen. You can't get frustrated to do that. You gotta look clear. And that's why some of these initiatives are very important, you know, because, well, there's just a lot more that can be said, but I'll end where I began this point. It's a very complicated, contradictory period that we're going through. And we've got our head wrapped around some of it, but not all of it. Let this complicated period test us, and let's pass the test. Some are going to be confused and either taken in by it or demoralized by it. There's a whole group of people who were waiting for bourgeois liberalism to come back, and they couldn't be happier. And they're forgetting about Black and Latino youth being shot. That's not their kids. They're forgetting about all the people in prison, and all the people who are homeless, and all the women who are being cut off, whatever, assistance they have. That's not, they're just happy, oh, geez, but, we've got all these social issues, it's better now. It's a big, it's a divergence. It's what's happening, it's real. And it's multi-layered and it's very complicated. But if we don't lose our way and don't make too many mistakes, our class will grow and so will our party.